This innovation of bank rate means that whether it knows it or not, the Bank of England is engaged in monetary policy. This is the origin of monetary policy. A bank that's thinking about the sort of state of the market as a whole. A sort of real, sort of minimal degree of that responsibility is to say, I will set the rate, and then when crisis comes, I will act sort of passively. I'll set a maximum rate. And then when crisis comes, everyone will come to me and I will lend to them freely at this high rate. This is the Bagehot Rule. This is what Bagehot said you should do in a crisis. Lend freely, okay, at a high rate against good security. That's the Bagehot Rule. And that's all he says, actually, in Lombard Street. He doesn't say, move bank rate around to try to influence the economy. That all came later, when people realized that the market is watching bank rate. And they know that the Bank of England is waiting in the wings, okay? And that if things get bad enough, the market rate gets up there, the Bank of England will come in and will discount for you, okay? And because they know the Bank of England is in the wings, they're behaving in certain ways. They're willing to take more risks, or they're willing to lend because they know the Bank of England is there as the backstop. But this gives the Bank of England an influence over the economy. Okay, and once they realize this, they can move bank rate. They can move it up and down. They don't have to just leave it at 6% or something. Can move it up and down and start to try to influence the economy. You want to try to encourage credit growth? Lower bank rate. You want to try to discourage it? Say, I'm not going to help you. You're on your own. Raise bank rate, you know. So that's the art of central banking. The art of central banking is about manipulation of bank rate. I wanted to bring this hierarchy diagram back again because I want to show you here. Here's the central bank. Partly the central bank, so the central bank is thinking, it's sitting on top of the hierarchy from the point of view of the banking system here. Okay? And it can think of itself as managing that hierarchy, okay, as moving bank rate up and down and trying to influence things below it. It can think of itself as being lender of last resort in case of trouble. Okay. And that's what Bagehot emphasizes. Lend freely at a high rate in a crisis. The high rate, this is interesting, even this phraseology, lend freely at a high rate. This is elasticity and discipline, both, right? Lend freely, but at a high rate. Why? Because he says, at a high rate, only the people who really need it are going to come to you, okay? And not somebody who's just looking for cheap money, okay? And not only that, they're going to pay it back fast too, because once the market rate falls, they're going to borrow in the market and pay you back because they don't want to be paying this high rate. So it's self-liquidating in that way. Discipline. But lend freely, because otherwise, if they can't make their payments, they default. Liquidity kills you quick. So the Bank of England, in looking down, okay, can, it can use its own balance sheet to push interest rates around, okay, but only if it's willing to let the market move on to its balance sheet. So you got to be a little careful about that. But it can relax tension in the market. It can cause tension in the market by moving its own discount rate around, by refusing to discount or raising its rate when everyone wants it and saying, your problem, guys, you got to settle it, okay? Or by saying, this is now a threat to the system, I'm going to settle it. You come to me and I'll give you notes.